Go, Melissa. What's going on, y'all? Attorney Tom here. Somebody notified me that there is the British equivalent of Judge Judy, and he has a YouTube channel. His name is Judge Rinder, so we're going to give him a shot. We're going to be reacting to a Judge Rinder video entitled Claimant Wins £4 Million. Before we begin, if this is anything like Judge Judy is essentially a small claims court. The claims are real, but both parties consent to having the matter adjudicated in this small claims court because it is going to get televised, and a little secret, the television show ends up paying for the result. So a lot of it is fabricated drama. But I clicked on this particular video because I want to find out how Judge Rinder can award a £4 million verdict. Let's jump into it.
What is the value that you put on the claim?
I want the £4,000 or the ring back so that I can get the proper value and sell it on.
The difficulty I have is that my powers are limited, and in law, I can't award what's called specific performance. In other words, I can't force this third, potentially fourth, maybe fifth party, who knows, it could be stolen, for all I know, to give it back. Even if I could, I have to tell you, John wouldn't be able to be in a position to advise me of who the subject of the order should be.
Okay, so I can already tell what's going on. This guy sold this ring, which I'm assuming the claimant values at £4,000. And what the judge is talking about is if the other guy had already sold the ring, well, it is very difficult for courts to force somebody to do something, especially a third party who might have purchased that ring in good faith. They become essentially a bona fide purchaser. And even if they acquire the ring in bad faith, the court still very well might not have the power to induce specific performance. Specific performance is literally one of the most difficult things for a court to enforce in common law. Essentially, you're only entitled to specific performance when the item is so unique that there is no other remedy. Here there is a remedy, and that is the fair market value of the ring. Let's keep going.
Subject of the order should be, because he doesn't know where it is.
Right.
So I then have to look to value. Now, what I've done in this case, which you may be aware of, is I sought an independent valuer to look at this particular ring, and I shall read out the assessment that was given.
Yep.
Now, this could only be based on the photos. It says this: it's impossible to tell if gold or by Gucci from the photos. It looks like a vintage citrine costume ring. The Jennifer Gucci box is very cheaply made, and as far as I'm aware, nothing to do with the company Gucci. In my opinion, from the info I have and the photographs, it's not Gucci or their style and costume, and is of little value. If it was a ring of unknown make in 18-karat gold, as of today, roughly 14 grams, it would be £316.40 in scrap and would retail around the £500 mark. Right. That's the independent.
Okay, so now that we've established that specific performance is out of the question, now we need to find out how much the ring is worth. The judge called in an independent evaluator to guesstimate roughly how much the ring would be worth, and that valuation came back at £500. Now, that does not mean that the claimant is going to get only £500. There could very well be some additional information that changes that valuation, such as the facts leading up to this point. Did the parties have an agreement? How much did the parties agree to exchange to sell that ring for? Are the parties commercial entities? Meaning, is the buyer or the seller acting as a sophisticated buyer, as a commercial entity? In the United States, we have something called the Uniform Commercial Code, the UCC. And under the UCC, experts are held to a higher standard, whether that be extending an offer, accepting an agreement, taking the risk, the burden of having an exchange go well. It might very well be shifted to them because they are the expert. Now, The UCC is American. I do not know what goes on in Britain. And I don't know if these parties are experts or not. But my guess is they are not, because they are on Judge Rinder, who seems pretty cool, by the way. I need a show like Judge Rinder and or Judge Judy. Judge Tom. $1 million idea right there, everyone.
Assessment. Did you promise Melissa £4,000?
I must have done.
Thank you.
I just lost a close family member just beforehand. I wasn't thinking.
So here's the analysis so far. Question one that they need to answer is, was there an agreement? Was there a contract for a specific price? If there was an agreement to sell for £4,000, it probably doesn't matter whether or not this guy is an expert. That was the deal. That was the contract, to sell the ring for £4,000. If there wasn't an agreement to sell for £4,000, or there was an imperfect deal, it's likely going to come down to whether or not this individual is characterized as an expert. If he is an expert, then he is probably going to have to pay the £4,000 because he is an expert and that is what he expressed he was going to pay. If he's not an expert, then he will probably just be forced to pay the fair market value, which is £500.
Straight. And, you know I'm in the wrong, and I'd like to make a donation on top of this to Melissa's 2 fund. I feel terrible about it. I do.
Thank you, sir. That means a lot. Have you heard that?
I didn't know about the abuse part of being beat up and having a teeth. I didn't know any of that, so.
Well, John, I'm grateful to hear that.
Yeah.
Melissa, John, this is a very difficult case in law. You don't have a written contract. What effect?
There you go. No written contract. It's probably going to come down to whether or not the defendant is an expert.
Effectively happened here is that you gave a ring to John that you had no idea of the value of. John held himself out as a de facto expert and said, I think it's worth £4,000. What's more, I'm going to take a commercial punt. I so believe that it's £4,000 that I will give you that £4,000 for sure. In other words, I will guarantee that money because I intuitively believe that I can make a profit on it.
I can be Judge Rinder. Look at that. Sign me up. Let me be this judge. Look at that. Spot on analysis. You're welcome, England.
He told me in the course of evidence that he intuitively thought it could be worth as much as £10,000. In other words, he was prepared to take a risk of giving you that £4,000 because potentially he stood to benefit to the tune of an extra £6,000. The question is, are you entitled to that £4,000? The reality of the situation now, and I have to consider the interests of justice, is I'm now in a position independently to know the true value of that ring. The true value of that ring is £500. It would offend the interests of justice to award you £4,000. In other words, to reward you for an item, a chattel, a thing that the court knows is not worth that sum. In law, I cannot do that, regardless of what you were promised. Consequently, I can award you something, but only the retail value of the jewellery, which in my judgment, based upon the independent evidence, is £500. That is the award of the court.
Okay, so I disagree with Judge Rinder's finding. He said everything that I wanted him to say. The guy was acting as an expert, and as such, he stood on his beliefs as an expert that he could make a profit on this. It's his fault that he valued the ring at £4,000, and he promised a £4,000 return to the claimant. This is the risk of doing business. This is the risk of holding yourself out as an expert. Judge Rinder said it would offend the interest of justice if he awarded $4,000 to the claimant because the ring isn't worth $4,000. That is where the determination of an expert. Business is tough. People lose money in business all the time. It is your job when you are holding yourself out as an expert in this business to take those risks. This is not two random people. This is somebody who is trying to turn a profit in this industry who said that they were an expert in this industry. So I do disagree with the court's findings. I don't think it would offend the interest of justice to award the extra 3,500 pounds to the claimant. But the analysis is very similar, and that makes sense because our legal system is literally derived from English common law, except for Louisiana. Let's keep watching. The video literally says claimant wins 4 million pounds. So I don't know if that was an error or where this 4 million pounds is going to come from. Let's find out.
Thank you, Judge.
Melissa was awarded £500 of her original claim. Since Melissa was in court, she has won £4 million on a scratch card.
£4 million on a scratch card? Melissa did not get the right verdict, but she won in the long run. Melissa, congratulations.
Let's find out how both parties felt about their day in court.
I feel pretty let down. I mean, yeah, £500 is more than the £25 that I spent, but I really truly believed I was getting £4,000 for that ring.
I'm sorry, Melissa, all right. Are we friends again?
That easy.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. Are we friends again?
If you, John, we was always good friends.
That's the most British thing ever. An American's cutthroat. No friends. You're not friends with someone you sue. Look at that. They're hugging. That is love right there. Way to go. A+. All right. That was actually pretty interesting. That was good legal content. All right, Judge Rinder, even though you got the verdict wrong, Melissa won in the end, so I'll let it slide. All right, y'all. That's it for today's video. Make sure you hit that like button. It does me a huge favor. Leave any comments, questions, concerns down below. Be sure to get to them. All right. Talk to you later.